What is going on, everybody? It's your observant lineman here, Uche Nwaneri, and we've got some good news on the Zac Stacy front. If you recall, in my last video, we talked about Zac Stacy brutally beating his ex-girlfriend, Kristen Evans, up. I mean, the video was quite shocking, made national headlines, and he fled after that incident occurred. Well, now Zac Stacy is in custody and has been charged formally with aggravated assault and criminal mischief. Let's go through this article here from TMZ. There's also a video that I'm going to show you that includes his court hearing. Some things that I want to talk about in that as well. But it says here, Zac Stacy arrested and jailed in Florida after brutally beating ex-girlfriend. Says cops say Stacy was arrested shortly after flying into Florida from Tennessee on Thursday night. According to police, Stacy flew in from Nashville to Orlando with the intention of turning himself in. Well, I'll take it at face value, but, of course, they were looking for him, so it was only a matter of time. And was taken into custody by the Orlando PD without incident. Here's a video that shows us his court hearing, and some of the things they talk about here, I'll get into, kind of give my perspective on it. But let's look at this court hearing from Orlando, Orange County, for Zac Stacy.
All right, good morning, sir. Can you tell me your name?
Zachary Stacy, Sr.
Mr. Stacy, you're here in case 2021 CF 14827AO on charges of aggravated battery, cause of great bodily harm, and felony criminal mischief. Mr. Luca, can you put your name on the record?
Yes, Attorney Thomas Luke on behalf of Mr. Stacy, Your Honor.
I believe we have the victim on the line, but I'm not sure if she's able to speak to us this morning. All right, Mr. Stacy, you want to set your bond in count one in amount of $10,000, count two amount of $150. Condition of your bond, you to have no contact with the victim in this case. You are to maintain a separate residence from this victim. I'll give you the one-time return with law enforcement if you need it to retrieve any personal items you have at that residence. You may not possess any weapons or firearms. Any weapons or firearms you have need to be turned over to law enforcement within 24 hours of your release. You ought to surrender your passport before you are released from the Orange County Jail. And you are going back to Tennessee after you leave the jail, or are you going somewhere else?
Yes.
Where are you going to be living?
Tennessee.
So what address, tell me what address you're going to be living at in Tennessee.
Right now, I'm just in an Airbnb.
Okay, so there you see his bond hearing. He is forced to surrender his passport before he's allowed out of jail. One thing I found peculiar for the situation, especially with the judge knowing, he had to have known about the video that's online and the brutality of the attack. I would have thought that there would have been a little bit more in terms of bail requirements and in terms of the amount that he had to pay to make bond. But in this case, he has a $10,000 bond, which is essentially $100 or $1,000 to get out of jail, and a $150 bond on criminal mischief, which 10% of that, come on. That was nothing really in terms of forcing him to pony up some money to get out. I feel like there should have been a much higher bond, but in these situations, I guess with the courts, there's a requirement on bonds. There's requirements that you have to ask for regarding the charge. So I guess they see that as proportionate. But I would think that there would be kind of extenuating circumstances because of how vicious the attack was, the fact that it was on video. This was something that probably they could have made an exception for and maybe bump that bond up a little bit more so that they make sure they can get some kind of personal investment from him to make sure that he follows those requirements. He has to turn over his gun within any weapons within 24 hours, and he cannot have any contact with the victim, obviously. Now, it's crazy, man. There's a lot of things that aren't really talked about in regards to domestic abuse. And I know in this situation, because it's a guy who was in the NFL, it makes headlines and people are talking about it. But in the real world, in a world outside of being a public figure, this is almost a common thing that women go through. Women deal with physical abuse of this nature on far too regular a basis. It's the #1 killer of women in the United States. And I think that, even with this guy being, somewhat a public figure because he played in the NFL, I think it really is an opportunity for an example to be made so that there can be some kind of standard that's set to try and protect women in this regard. Because, at the end of the day, there's no comparison between the strength that a man has, especially someone of his stature and physical stature. There's no comparison between the amount of damage he can do physically to a woman as compared to a woman can do to him. But I feel like there definitely should have been a little bit more in way of making sure that, he had to pull out some money, some real money out of his pocket to get out of jail, because you'll see here, even in this situation, you can see Kristen Evans is posted more pictures showing some of the damage that this guy has done to her over time. And, I have no respect. I have no sympathy for any human being who decides that they want to beat on a spouse, and especially when it's a man beating on a woman. There's no way that you can consider yourself anything above filth and scum in these cases. And as you can see, this guy has done this many times. This is not a one-time or one-off situation. This is the norm. This is what he's done for a while to this woman. Even when she was pregnant, she said that he attacked her weeks before she had her son, their son. And I find that just unfathomable that someone can seriously consider themselves an adult of any type, consider themselves worth a damn when you do these kinds of things to other people. And I'll keep you guys updated on this situation as it progresses. Right now, I think that, I hope that they're able to keep him away from Kristen, because you also hear of a lot of different situations where disgruntled spouses who have been ordered to stay away, who've been given restraining orders, they violate those restraining orders. They go back and attack the victim. They find the victim. They stalk the victim. And in some cases, they murder the victim while out on bond. And I think that's something that they need to take very serious, regardless of if it's this guy or anyone else. There needs to be, I think, a little bit more attention paid, and the situation needs to be taken a lot more seriously with law enforcement in trying to safeguard and keep that barrier between the victim and the perpetrator in this situation. So you guys let me know what you think. I think you guys did a great job posting comments on the last video. Really enjoyed interacting with you guys in that. So please leave your comments down below. Give me your perspective on this. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. I'm your observant lineman, Uche Nwaneri, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace.